Hello team and welcome back to the channel. So before we start, I would request you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You will find tons of amazing hands-on videos on real-time DevOps and cloud DevOps, right? So make sure to subscribe. Now talking about today's video, so it's about a really interesting corporate level task which I'll be teaching you how to set up and how to utilize it. Okay, so now let us understand about Docker. We have Docker, we use Docker in our CI/CD pipelines as well as for building Docker images and pushing it to a Docker registry, right? Generally, what we show or what we practice with is like Docker Hub registry, which is completely public, right? That means that if you push your Docker images here, it will be available to anyone else also because there is no credential required. So they can also use the Docker images, right? Also, if you want to create new repository, let's say I want to make it private, so on Docker Hub by default you are getting only one private repository. Okay, that also is like hosted by a third-party application, which is Docker Hub, right? But in companies, instead of using Docker Hub for storing their Docker images, what they prefer to do is they create their own private Docker registry, which will be within the company network and it will be accessible only to the team members who are part of the project. Okay, in that way we can make sure that our Docker images are completely secure and not accessible to other people outside the project, right? So that's what I'm going to show you today, how you can set up a private Docker registry using Nexus. Nexus is a third-party tool which is used for storing artifacts in specific repositories. So inside Nexus we can set up a private Docker registry. Okay, so the agenda of this video will be that I'll be showing you, first of all I'll be showing you how to set up Nexus, right? Then I'll be showing you how to set up a private Docker registry. Okay, private Docker registry in order to push the Docker images, which should be very secure and which should be accessible to us only, right? After that, I am going to show you how you can build a Docker image, and push it to private Docker registry, right? So this also I am going to show you. Okay, so make sure to watch this video till end because I don't want you people to like miss any step, because there will be few complex steps that I'll be explaining. So make sure to watch this video till end so that you don't miss out any step. Okay, now with that being said, let's get started. But before that, one more thing, team, batch 5 is ongoing and we are almost completed halfway. But still, if you want to enroll, you can enroll because all the previous videos from batch 5 will be available to you, which you can watch in your own pace. Okay, so registration is still open for batch 5. If you are interested, make sure to register. You are going to learn all the real-time things. Okay, so make sure to check it out, and if interested, you can enroll. Now let us go and let us start doing this. So first of all, what we need, we need to have a virtual machine where we are going to set up Nexus. Okay, so for that I'm going to take a machine. Let me name it as server. Ubuntu server I am taking, and version is 24.04 LTS. Okay, talking about instance size, so size I'm going to take T2 large just for the sake that it should not hang. Okay, in your case you can easily go with T2 medium, it will also work fine. Since I'm recording a video, I don't want it to hang, that's why I'm taking T2 large, but in your case you can easily go with T2 medium. Okay, talking about key pair, so that is already present on my local. Talking about security group, so before we open the security group, let me show you the ports that are opened on my machine. If I go to security group primary, okay, so the ports that are mandatory for you to open, first of all, make sure that this range is open, 3000 to 10,000, because generally whatever things I do are lying in this range only. Okay, rest you can open 80 and 443 and 22. These 4 ports you need to open. Okay, let me close this. Okay, so once you have opened these ports, then you are good to go. And now talking about storage, I'm going to give the storage of 25 GB. Okay, click on launch instance. Okay, so instance is getting created. Now what we can do, using 𝗭𝗲𝗃𝗀, we can connect to this instance. So 𝗭𝗲𝗃𝗀, if you have not used it, you can simply go to this website 𝗭𝗲𝗃𝗀 and you can download the home edition, which is free. If I click on download now, we have 2 options: home edition, portable, and installer. Okay, now most of the people who are already using like company laptop to practice something, So you can go ahead with portable edition because it won't cause any issues. Well, if you are using your own personal laptop, you can go ahead with installer version. I use portable version because it's like very simple to use. Okay. So once you download it, it will be downloaded in a zip file, and after that you can open this folder, you can see, and this is the file. Okay. Double click on it to open the 𝗭𝗏𝗃𝗀. I have opened it. Let me remove the previous session so that I can create a new one. Okay. Click on SSH, and now we need to provide the public IP address of the virtual machine that we have created. After that, specify username. Username, in my case, I'm using Ubuntu, because when you create a Ubuntu machine, by default the username will be Ubuntu. In case of like you are using EC2 machine, then in that by default username is EC2 user. Okay, so I'm using Ubuntu machine. After that, we need to provide the private SSH key. So I'll browse it to my local and I'll select the key. After that, click on OK and you will be connected, right? I'll just rename this to server. Let me change the tab color also to green. Okay, and let me reopen this. Okay, so now we have created our virtual machine and now we are connected to it. So next step that we need to do is to set up Nexus. Okay, and the easiest possible way to set up Nexus is by using Docker images. Okay, that means we need to have Docker installed on our machine. So for that, I'll type Docker. As we can see, Docker is not installed by default, but we get the command to install Docker, right? If I run this, it is supposed to install Docker, but it will give error. This error most of you might have already seen: package Docker, no installation candidate. Why this error is coming? Because we are supposed to run the first command as sudo apt update, which will update the default packages in the Linux repository so that they are available for usage. Then only we can be able to install any of the tools or packages. Okay, so always run the first command as sudo apt update. Once you have done that, then you can move to the next command, which is to install any package, right? Now I can run the command sudo apt install docker.io to install Docker. Okay, one more thing that you need to understand, that by default Docker commands can be run by only root user. That means when you install Docker, only root user will have the permission to run Docker commands. So what we can do in that case? So two options we have. Either we can specifically give Ubuntu user to run the Docker commands permission, we can give it to it, or we can give permission to all the other users. Okay. For example, if I run this command, let me clear the screen, docker pull hello-world. You can see it is giving permission denied error because Ubuntu user by default does not have permission to run Docker commands, right? So one option is that you can become root and then you can run the Docker commands and it will work, right? But it's not the best practice, like that you should always run Docker commands with root user. Instead, what we can do, we can give permission to our Ubuntu user. How we can do that? First, I'll exit from root. Again, you can see I am on Ubuntu user, right? So what I need to do, I need to change permission by sudo user mod -a capital G. Then basically what I am doing here, I am adding Ubuntu user to a Docker group, because if Ubuntu user is also added to Docker group, then whatever permissions are given to Docker group, Ubuntu user can also use those permissions, right? And after that, either you can write here Ubuntu, or if you are doing some kind of automation, you can just write user. Okay, this user is this user $user means current user, right? Click enter. Right, now if I run the again Docker commands, it should work. But the thing is, these changes to be applied, you need to either log in or log out, or you can run this command, new group Docker. Once I run this command, then basically same thing happens. Like now we should be able to run the Docker commands, right? If I run this Docker images, we have this image, right? I can run this also, Docker run hello world, right? So we are able to run Docker commands now, right? Next up, what we need to do, we need to set up Nexus using Docker image. So first of all, let us go and search for Nexus image, Nexus Docker image. You can search it, and here the first link that comes, you can open this, and from here we can find the Docker image name of Nexus. So I'll copy this, go back, and right here I'm going to run Docker run -d let's give it a name as hyphen name as, let's say, okay, let's not give it a name. Okay, first of all, you need to understand why I'm writing hyphen d. Hyphen d means running in detached mode. That means the logs that are going to come while creation of setting up of Docker container for Nexus, those logs won't be appearing here on the UI in front end. They will be running in backend. Okay, after that we need to define the publishing of the port, so that you can do using T. First port is going to be host port. Host port is the port open on this virtual machine. Second port is going to be the port open on the container. Okay, now one more port again I need to open, which is 5000. If you are thinking why I am opening 5000 port on container and publishing it on the host machine also, because 5000 port we are going to use for our Docker registry. Okay, now after you have written this, just provide the name of Docker image of the Nexus, click enter, and it's going to first locally it's not able to find, so it's going to download the Docker image from a Docker hub, and then it's going to extract it, and then it's going to create the container using it. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Once it is done, then we can proceed for the next step. Okay, so it is created, container is created. We can check by running the command docker ps. You can see it is running, right? Let me make it a little bit smaller so it is visible clearly. You can see it is open, and we have opened two ports, 8081 and 5000. Okay, also one more thing you should remember, in case of Nexus, when you create a container, it takes few minutes to get up completely. Okay, in order to access it, first of all we are going to get the public IP address of our machine, go to browser, and here we can paste, and by default Nexus will be running on port 8081, so click enter. And now see, as I said, it takes few minutes to completely get up, so we need to wait for a few minutes, and then only it will be accessible. Okay, here we can see it's running, but as I say, it takes few minutes to completely get started. Okay, let me refresh this again just to confirm. Yeah, okay, you can see now it is getting up, right? So first thing that we are going to do, you can see this is the UI. First thing that we are going to do is go basically log into this Nexus server. So by default you can see a username is admin, so we'll put admin. Okay, and password is inside a specific file name admin.password. That means the container that we have created for Nexus, inside that container we should be able to find this file somewhere. Okay, so how we can do that? So first of all, what we can do, first of all I'll run docker ps to get the ID of the container. Now using this ID we can go inside the container. How we can do? We can run docker exec -it. -it means interactive terminal. That means I am trying to say I want to create a interactive terminal in the Docker container so I can run commands. Okay, after that we need to provide the container ID, in which container ID I want to go. Then I want to define which terminal I want to use. So I want to use bash terminal, so I'll write bin/bash. Okay, click enter, and now you can see now we are inside the container. If I run ls, these are the folders present inside the folders and files present inside the Docker container of Nexus. Okay, so here you need to go inside Sonatype work folder. Here you can see we have Nexus 3 folder. Here you can see we have one file admin.password. Okay, so this is the file where we can find the password. So I can get the contents of this file using cat command, copy that and paste it here. Okay, now from here to here make sure you copy don't copy the bash also. So once you have copied, you can put it here. This is the default admin password. Okay, click on sign in, click on next, and now we need to set up our new password. So I'll do that. So we have set up our password. Now you see this option, configure anonymous access. So if you want that your files of Docker images that you are storing in Nexus, they should be able to be downloaded without any credentials, then you can use this. If not, then you can use the second one. For now, just I'm going with the first one. Okay, click on next and click on finish. That means now we have set up our Nexus properly, right? Now what we need to do, we need to go to browse. Sorry, yeah. So in browse section, you can see all these repositories are present, right? But we need to set up our private Docker registry. So for that, go to settings, go to repositories and click on this option, create repository. Okay, scroll down till you find something as Docker. I see we have generated three options, three kinds of repositories: group, hosted, proxy. All these things I have taught in my course. You can check it out as I say. So for now, we are going to set up hosted. Why hosted? Because it's like a custom artifacts or images we are going to push. So for that, we need to use hosted. Okay. Here we need to provide any name. I am just going with Docker dash private. Okay. And here we have two options: HTTP and HTTPS, right? So since we are setting up using HTTP, so click on this and provide a port. Port we have opened 5000, so I'm going to put it there. Now here we have this option, anonymous Docker pull. So I'm going to just enable it so that we can download it. We can download Docker images. Okay. And after that, the blob storage, just keep it as default, because as of now we have not set up any kind of blob storage. And yeah, this one, deployment policy. So if you are going to push Docker images with the same name and you want that it should be getting updated every time, so you can just enable allow redeploy. Okay. Once you've done that, click on create repository, and now you can see we have created the hosted Docker private repository. Okay, format is Docker, right? Next up, what we need to do, scroll down to security, go to realms, and here click on this Docker bearer token realm. Click on that. Okay, once you have done that, click on save. Now authentication is also enabled, so as of now we can use the default username password that we are using for accessing Nexus. We can use the same username password for accessing Docker. Okay, now since this is HTTP and not HTTPS, so for that we have to apply one settings. Let me explain you what. So here in our virtual machine where we are going to connect to Docker registry, we need to tell it that insecure URL, that is the HTTP URL, should be allowed. So how we can do that? For that we need to go inside the folder /etc/docker. Okay, as of now there is no file here, but we need to create a file named daemon.json. Create this file, and the contents of this file is supposed to be this one, insecure registries, as I say, because we are having HTTP and not HTTPS. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, I'm going to provide the IP address of the Nexus server, which is this one. So I'll copy that, let me paste it here, and now we need to copy this whole thing inside the file that we have created, daemon.json. Once you have done that, save this. One second, we are having, okay, I assume that we do not have permission directly to edit this file. 1 second. So what I can do, I can become a root user, and now I can do the same changes, because with root user the permission should be given. Okay, let me copy this again, paste it here, save this, and this should be allowed. Okay, so now we have done that, right? Now, okay, so this part is done. Now if I run, yeah, once you have done this part, also one thing that you need to do is restart your Docker container. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to, not Docker container, we need to restart Docker. So how we can do, sudo systemctl restart Docker. Okay, so once you restart Docker, basically by default this container will also be going into stopped state. If it is in stopped state, nothing we have to do, just start the container again. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Okay, so Docker is restarted, right? If I run docker ps, you can see no container is running, right? That means we need to start our container again. Which one? Which is this one, right? So I'll run the command docker start, and this is the container ID. Copy that, click enter, and it is started. Now if I run docker ps, you can see it is coming up in start mode. But again, as I say, when you start Nexus or restart it, it will take some time. You can see server is disconnected, so we need to wait for a few seconds when it gets started. Okay, and there are no jump cuts in the video, so that, see, that's why I'm saying you just follow the video till end, because if you don't, you will face a lot of issues for sure. Okay, so let's wait for this to come up. As I say, it takes some time. Okay, let me refresh. Yeah, now you can see it is up and running. So we can log into it. Admin password, the new password that we set up. Okay, so now we are logged in, and now we can test it out. What we have to test, first of all, we need to test if we are able to log into our private registry or not. So for that, I can run the command docker login, and the registry URL for us, it's going to be this one, IP address :5000. So we'll copy that, paste it here, click enter. You can see it is asking for username. Same username password you need to keep which you are using to log into Nexus, which can be changed later also. Okay, you can see we are logged in now, and this time we have been logged in into our private Docker registry. Right, now let's say we are having which images, Docker images, 2 images we are having. Right, let's say I want to push my Docker image of hello world into Nexus. So first of all, when you are pushing any Docker images to a private Docker registry, you need to tag it in the format. This will be the format that you need to remember when pushing any. See, let's say this is my Docker image, hello world :latest. This is my Docker image, right? But I want to push it to my private Docker registry. So what will be the new name for this? New name will be registry URL / hello-world :latest. This will be the new name if I want to publish my Docker images to my private registry URL, right? So we need to tag our Docker image. How we can do that? We can do that by running the command docker tag. Which image I want to tag? Hello world. This one :latest. And new tag, new image name will be, first of all, we need to write the registry URL / hello-world :latest. And now I can push this Docker image, docker push, to my private registry URL. Okay, and also make sure that you are logged into your private registry URL. Okay, you can see it has been pushed. Just to confirm, what we can do, we can go to our Docker private registry. You can see hello world tags also latest, right? Let's say I want to push another image which is like Sonatype Nexus, right? So for that, what we can do, again, we need to tag it to a proper format. How we can do that? Docker tag, which image I want to tag? This one. And what will be the format? First, registry URL / this is going to be the name latest. Okay, once you have done that, you can push it now. You can copy this from here to here, paste it, click enter, and you can see it is getting pushed now. Let's wait for this to complete. Since the image size is quite big, so it will take few minutes. So let's wait for this. Okay, so it is done. We can just confirm by refreshing the page on Nexus. You can see Sonatype Nexus is pushed now, tag latest. Okay, let's say I want to what will happen if I push it again? What is going to happen if I go back here? What happened? No changes will be happening. Basically, just updation will be happening. Okay, so yeah, one more thing, team, you might be needing to understand that this image that we are pushing, we are pushing a digital format, because generally you can see the Docker image size, it's like quite big, 567 MB. So we are not pushing this 567 MB, we are pushing a digital format which is very small size. Okay. So in this way, we can create private Docker registry and we can push Docker images. So I hope this video was useful for you. If so, give it a like. Okay. So thanks for watching and have a nice day, team.